Welcome back. This is Dr. Hadley. This is my series on Microsoft 365 Excel. For Unit 2, we are looking at formulas and math of that sort. Today we're going to do really common formulas that are seen in most Excel applications. So the last time we talked about basic calculations, we're now going to bring that to the next level. To start off, let's look at what are called array functions. So arrays are large sets of numbers, not just a single number. So functions that work on arrays function on a list. So how do we do that? Well, let's generate a list first. Practice some of that auto-filling we learned the other day. So let's have 1, 3, use that pattern. So the first thing we can do is we can sum this. So I'm going to write down the function name and over here the actual function. So equals sum. And you can see as I type it, basically this little help guide pops up. This isn't in all forms of Excel, but definitely the online one. So it tells you what it does, gives you an example of how it works, and it gives you the specific format. Okay. So we have one or two things we can do. We can either highlight the range of cells, okay, like that. And so this is an array because it's got A1 colon A10. So that basically means cells A1 through A10. And if we click enter, we get 100. So what if they're not all together? What if I need to sum and they're separate? So let's add maybe like up to 5, 9, 8, 7 over here. And I want the new sum. I want the sum to be the previous stuff plus that. If I want to have it in one formula, so equals sum. I highlight my stuff as normal, and then I click comma and select my other cells. Okay. So I can use the colon, that is a continuous array, but if I use a column, I can have separate arrays or just separate entries. I could do G1, comma, G2, etc., etc. And of course, if I do this, I get 131. Another common one is average. So average. And this is a mean, not a median or a mode. So, equals average. Okay, and it's pretty much the same thing as sum. So it's going to count all the cells in there. It's going to add them up and divide them by 10. So our average should be 10. Now what happens if I take out, let's say, one cell, like there's a blank cell? So let's take out this 9. So that's going to make the total 91, and the average will be a little bit over 10. So let's delete this. It's totally fine. Okay, this is, if I multiply this by 9, okay, even though this is blank, it will not include it in the formula because it recognizes it as blank. Now, if I put in text, it's still going to be okay. The only thing that's not going to make it okay is if I put in a number like 0. 0 will change things slightly. But let's say I don't want the average. Maybe I do want the median. Well, there is that too. So equals median. It's just the same. And I get 9. So there's one more, two more that are good for lists that are going to be used commonly. So that would be a max and a min. Maximum and a minimum. So equals max, and it's going to give you the biggest number. And of course, minimum is going to give you the smallest number. Some other common functions, though, that are useful or what have you. First off, I'm basically using my actual calculator as a guide because that's what Excel is. It's a fancy calculator. So I can look at my advanced scientific calculator to figure out, well, how do I do that in Excel? So a common one would be pi. What if I need pi? Okay, equals pi parenthesis, parenthesis. and it returns pi. So I can use that to convert, for example, radians to degrees or vice versa. What about e, as in like natural logs and such? Well, that would just be exponential, but to the 1. But if I want e to the 5, or 2.3, for example, then I just do it like that. Now remember, exponents in general, those we use the caret. So I want equals 2.3 to the 5.2. Okay, that's going to be a little bit different, obviously. Related to that are natural log. So equals natural log. So ln is for natural log. I think it's the exact same on a calculator. Usually it is. I can do log base 10. So log 10, this guy. I can also have any kind of a log base. Okay. So let's say I have 16 here. Equals, and I want log base 2. I should get an answer of 4. Okay. So log lets me change the base. Now by default it assumes 10. So you can see that base is in brackets, meaning it is not required. So number is required, but base, because it's in brackets, is not required. It has default or assumed values. In this case, it's 10. But I can change it. So if I change this, do the log of that cell, but I have a base of 2, I get an answer of 4. So that's pretty valuable, pretty nice. I don't think my calculator can, switch up the log bases. I have to do those little log tricks. Okay. There's also standard trig functions like sine and cosine. So sine of pi, I should get -1. I should get 0, sorry. But cosine of that, I should get -1, or darn near it. Obviously there's tangent, but I might also want the arc sine. So maybe I want equals arc sine, a sine. So that is sine to the sine to the -1 on a calculator. But arc sine, let's just take this guy. Actually, he won't work. This guy, because it has to be less than 1, and I get that return. And same thing with cosine and arc tangent. If you've been having troubles following along, so this was pi, this was e, this was just exponential, this was normal exponential, natural log base 10, log base 2, sine, cosine, arc sine, so arc sine, also could be sine to the -1. Let's say you can't remember all of these. That's a lot, right? Okay. If you go to formulas, it has every single function, every single formula that you could conceive of for Excel. Okay. And obviously something like sine and cosine would be under math and trig. You can see right there are cosine. Some other good ones from that are absolute value. So equals ABS of that guy. Obviously I should get 1. There is the square root. So equals square root of the 16. And I should get 2. Oh, sorry, 4. Think of the other one. Square root. A useful one that is not very common is a function called mod. Okay, so what does mod do? It basically gives you the remainder from division. Okay. So if I do equals mod 5, 3, I should get a remainder of 2. So because if I did long division of 5 divided by 3, I'd get 1, and then I'd have a remainder of 2. And if I want to know, well, what would be on the division symbol, like, okay, with a remainder of 2, but how many times does 3 go into 5? That's something called quotient. So it's kind of the opposite of mod. So if I have equals quotient 16 comma 3, I should get an answer 5. And those are the main common math or array functions that you would see in probably 90% of Excel worksheets. I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed this video. Keep watching, subscribe, like, all that good stuff, and I will see you next time. Have a good day.